Good morning, Sheila,
Good morning, Wayne.
and welcome to our show, everyone, to 27 Minutes with Sheila and Wayne, where we explore the fascinating world of verbs and their impact on our daily lives. Join us each week as we delve into the different ways verbs shape our language and influence our activities, as we attempt to make a positive difference in our world, one verb at a time. And Sheila, what is our verb for today?
Well, Wayne, if you've ever given a friend a tip on their resume or helped guide a colleague through a tricky project or even just suggested a great book to read, then you have been practicing today's verb, which is to advise.
Ah,
And
okay.
I'm going to give one brief definition, and I know you're going to have more. So I'm going to start by saying to consider, to recommend, or to counsel are some definitions for to advise.
Okay. And I have a bunch of definitions, and they're relatively close. So I'll just start if I can do that.
Please do.
To give someone advice, to give someone official information about something,
Mhm.
to give advice to someone or to suggest something, to give someone useful information or to tell them what you think they should do. And as you said, to caution or to warn,
Mhm.
to recommend, to give information or notice to inform, and two more, to give a recommendation about what should be done. And my last one, to talk with someone in order to decide what should be done, as in consultation.
Okay.
And Sheila, how can our listeners find you?
Oh, thank you, Wayne. I can be reached at zekeandsheila@yahoo.com.
And I can be reached at Wayne at mindsyncing.com. And as always, I'll spell that MindSyncing.com. So that's Wayne at mindsyncing.com.
Super.
And Sheila, advise. What did you think? The first thoughts off your head when we
I
pulled the word
thought
advice out of the gelato jar.
I
I'm
thought there
sorry.
was going to be a ton of material about it. But I found myself stymied a little bit until, of course, you keep digging and then you find something good.
Yes.
So I
Yes.
finally did find something good in the area of research.
Okay.
But I started out, well, first of all, let me hear what your response was.
Oh, my response was advice. I mean, ooh, and I shuddered because
Oh,
advice. That's one of those words that I grew up and had been told you never really try to give advice to friends or people because
oh,
it might come back to bite you. Well, you told me I should do this. Well, no, no, I didn't say that.
interesting.
Yes. So I, I
Okay.
I was a little resistant about it. And like you, I started doing research. I was looking, and everything still pointed to what my thoughts were in my head. And I said, "Oh, there has to be something out there that's positive in this." And
Okay.
as you said, lo and behold, boom, a few articles popped up,
Good, good.
and and I was able to come away with at least one that I'm going to absolutely talk about today.
Okay.
So now, complete your thought, please, because you were going to say something, and you said nope. You want to hear what I had to say first
Yes,
before you
yes.
get there.
I
Okay.
started looking up first the best advice I've ever been given and or that you've ever heard. And there are tons and tons and tons of lists. And I thought, how do you even sift through this? Although I did come up with one that I found particularly helpful. So then I thought, let me instead research the worst advice you've ever been
Ah.
given, and those were fun.
Okay.
So I'm going to give the best advice I've ever been given. If you find a toilet in your dream, don't use it.
Ooh.
Okay. Now, the worst advice I've ever been given. Oh, yes. Yeah. No, the worst advice is calm down. I'm sorry.
Wow.
I'm laughing because I read a joke that said, turn any sofa into a bed by telling your wife to calm down. But then the most unwelcome advice I'd ever received was eat less and exercise more.
Ooh.
And then the worst movie advice I've ever heard is love means never having to say you're sorry.
Sorry. Ooh.
Yeah. And then finally, the best advice on a bumper sticker I've ever seen was chocolate is not just for breakfast anymore.
I like that one.
So those are my introductions to advice. So
Okay.
what have you got next?
Well, you know what? I went to I as I said, I found a few articles, but I particularly enjoyed this one article that I found on Inc. And it's titled 25 Excellent Pieces of Advice That Most
Okay.
People Ignore.
Oh.
And I thought, oh, what is that? And it's by Lolly Daskell. And she has this list of 25 things. And I said to myself, okay, going back to my mind space where my mind says, ooh, don't give friends advice because they'll come back and be
Right.
mad at you. These were great because again, it's 25 excellent pieces of advice that most people ignore. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. I'm going to go down Lolly's list.
Okay.
All right. And I'll start with the first 3 or 4 if I may.
Please do.
Okay, thank you. It says she starts off with give yourself an edge with these 25 gems of sage advice that most people ignore. The first one, take time to know yourself. And I thought, oh my goodness, that is just really cool because Jennifer and I, when we wrote our book, that's our first chapter is knowing the value that you bring.
Ah, great.
So I like that one particularly. And that's not why I chose this list, but it was, serendipitously, there it was.
Yay.
So number 2, a narrow focus brings big results. And I thought a narrow focus brings, I said, oh, they're talking about focusing on one thing, one problem, one challenge, and it gets better. And that's much like we talked about several weeks ago when I said Einstein's quote was, he says, it's not that I'm smarter than everyone else, it's just that I ponder the problem longer. And so that number 2 reminded me of that one. Number 3 and number 4, and then I'll go to you, my friend. Show up fully. Yes, just show it, be the best you that you can be. And then the next one, and here's a fun one, don't make assumptions. And we all know what assuming does. So
yeah,
I liked that one. Okay,
there's truth in that.
I'll stop there and I'll continue when I come back.
Well, I'm going to dally in what career paths to choose if you really like giving advice to people.
Okay.
And I was thinking about people who really like to give advice oftentimes are the oldest kid in the family. or at least have a few younger siblings. So anyway, here are some potential career paths and the average national salary for those jobs. Number 1, probation officer.
Ooh.
Yeah. So average national annual salary is $50,323.
Okay.
So say you still like to give advice, but you want a little bit more than that. You can be a substance abuse counselor. So that's narrowing your focus. Average salary for that is $53,650 a year.
Okay.
So say that's still not enough money, but you still have plenty of advice to give. It's going to take you a little longer to get there, but a lawyer makes $93,223 for giving advice, etc.
Okay.
But say that's not quite enough of a social giving back to society kind of thing. You could be a social worker for $58,939 a year. And these are national averages. So in certain areas, these would be lower. In certain areas, they would be higher.
Okay.
Now, some of my friends whom I go to frequently for advice, or one in particular, and one sister, is a registered nurse. They give great advice, $70,000, $822. And my niece, who recently graduated with her doctorate in physical therapy, average salary for that, $85,831. All of these great jobs. Oh, there's also business consultant, home organizer, financial advisor, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. If that is your passion, helping other people, then here are some possible career paths for you. Thank you, Wayne.
Oh, well, thank you. Excellent. All right. And I will go back to Lolly's list, if I may.
Please do.
She says, be patient and persistent. And I thought, okay, let me think about that. And she kind of qualified that with life is not so much what you accomplish as to what you overcome. And then I thought, oh, okay, I get that now. So be patient and persistent.
Ah.
Number 6, in order to get, you have to give. And and I'm thinking, okay, what's the
Hmm.
title of this article? And it's 25 excellent pieces of advice that most people ignore. And I said, okay, because a lot of people are in the me, give me
Oh,
mode.
gotcha. That's my
And
dog. That's Zeke. No, no, he's very
no,
loving as well.
poor Zeke. If he could talk, he could be on our podcast.
He is right in the background right now,
Okay.
giving his input.
Aha. Here's one that I've heard before, and again, it just resonates, and it's just so good. Luck comes from hard work,
Mm, yep, yep.
and that is just so true. It really is. A couple more, and then I'll go back to you, my friend.
Sure.
Be your best at all times, and I think that kind of coincides with number 3 that she said, show up fully. Number 9, don't try to impress everyone. And I'm thinking, wow, how nice that is and very well stated, because I read a book many years ago by D'Alessandro, and it was Executive Warfare. And
Mm,
in Executive Warfare, he says, one of the first things that you need to remember or know as you're taking leadership roles in big leadership roles,
hmm.
not everybody is going to love you.
It's true. That's true.
There's always going to be somebody, some group, some portion that's just, they are just not going to like you no matter what you do. It's just
Right.
because it's you.
Right.
So don't try to impress everyone. 2 more, and then you, maybe I said that earlier, but don't be afraid of being afraid. And I thought, ooh, yes. Listen to learn, learn how to listen. And I think that is just so good. And remember, last couple times we talked about, and I said a friend of mine, Mick gave me 7 words to always think about.
Hmm.
Am I listening or ready to speak? Are the 7 words. So
Right.
that
Right.
resonates with listen to learn and learn how to listen.
Right.
Um, yes, it's just so good. All right, okay, I will go to you, and then I'll come back to my list here.
I like your list. So thank you. The next direction that I went into was trying to find research about advice. And of course, advising kind of fits into that when you are in the act of giving advice or advice. You know what I'm trying to say here.
I do.
Basically, this article was in Psychology Today. It talked about the powerful impact on a student's life of giving micro affirmations. Now, we've heard about microaggressions, which are small messages or cues that someone is not welcome or included. So I liked the idea of exploring micro affirmations, which are small acts, specifically here in the workplace or academic field, that foster inclusion, listening, comfort, and support. And that goes a little bit with what you were just saying too. So they can have a powerful impact on students' life. You can make it a habit that is frequent and intentional about giving micro affirmations. And I wanted to know, what exactly are micro affirmations here? It is not acts of kindness or empathy, because that doesn't have the intentionality behind it. That's
Okay.
nice. Those are very pleasant, but you want to make sure the goal is to make someone welcome and feel visible and heard, a little bit like what you were talking about. So it's also called appreciative advising. And these are some of the questions that you can ask that would accomplish this goal. Like,
Okay,
what do
I'm
you
ready.
think you, what do you think you did well in this situation?
Ooh.
And how have you grown from this experience? And then often say, like Wayne, say the person's name. Practicing active listening. You're validating the student, in this case's experience. You're not agreeing with it, but you're validating it. Well, I can see that you're frustrated by that. So I can see that you feel good about this, and I believe you should be proud of what you've accomplished so far. I'm concerned about you. Come visit me in my office hours to talk about this more.
All
Uh,
right.
What led you to this decision? What will you do differently next time? So basically, these I thought were really great ways of just going about the world. As if you're a parent talking to a child, these are opening the advisee to be more receptive to advice about what they need to do for their next step or what would be productive for their next step. And I'm going to start practicing some of these in my everyday life, except not to Zeke because he doesn't care.
Okay.
So back to your list, Wayne.
All right, here we go. Again, these are 25 excellent pieces of advice that
Yeah.
most people ignore.
Okay.
Here's this is so true, and yet people think that it's pointed only at them and it only happens only to them. And Lolly is suggesting that everybody touches this one. Here we
Okay.
go. Life's good, but it's not fair.
Yeah.
I think we can all resonate with that. No task is beneath you. Oh, okay. Again, leading, and one of the first concepts of leadership that I remember was
Mm-hmm.
never ask anyone something that you would not do yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Never ask them to do something you would not do yourself. So, um, life's so no task is beneath you. And I have mopped floors, I have cleaned grease traps, I have
Mm-hmm.
cleaned toilets, I have done I have done I've done some garbage collecting. Hey, we're it's sometimes we have to roll up our sleeves and get dirty.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Here we go. You can't always get what you want. Really? You have to tell me that? I learned that over and over and over again.
There's a song about that.
Number 15, don't make decisions when you are angry or ecstatic. Much like,
Ah.
now I'm going to add one that's not on her list. Don't go to the grocery store when you're hungry.
Oh, yeah. Been there,
Same
done
thing.
that. Much more expensive.
Yes. Okay. Two more, and then I'll turn to you because we're at 17 minutes already. Wow.
Wow.
Okay. Don't worry about what other people think. And I'm thinking, yeah, because that's just going to exude paranoia, and you'll be locked into thinking other things. You can't do what you're supposed to be doing. Number 17, use adversity as an opportunity. I like that one. Particularly in sports, golly, we're down by 2 runs.
Oh.
Okay, let's make something happen here. Or at work, all right, it looks like we're going to be 3 days short, 3 days late. Anybody got ideas how we can catch up? It's just wow, which
Yeah.
goes back to a narrow focus brings big results. All right.
Right.
Yes. Okay. Everybody, pay attention. Everybody, think about this one concept. Put aside what you're doing. Let's think about this. How can we get from here to here? And it's so good, so good. Anyway, so I will stop at number 17, and I'll come back to the last few after you, my friend.
I want to talk about the worst financial advice I ever got.
Okay.
I was young, not making a lot of money, and had saved, nevertheless, a couple of $1,000s in an IRA.
Uh-huh.
And a highly recommended financial advisor from a friend of mine who had as much knowledge about finances as I did at the time said, here's this lady you got to talk to. So I talked to this financial advisor, and she recommended I divvy up my IRA into penny stocks,
Oh no.
multi-level marketing inventory so that I could write it off on my taxes, and thirdly, a company that was raising venture capital to start video games on cable. This was in the early 80s. So basically, then because I had invested in that video game company and taken money out of my IRA, I had to pay an accountant to do my taxes for a couple of years, and I didn't even make enough money to be able to pay the accountant. It was so bad, which is probably why I was interested in that field, giving good advice instead of bad advice.
Bad advice.
But you're young, and that's the time to make mistakes, right?
Yeah. Okay. I think you just had a micro affirmation.
Okay, all
Being
right.
young is the time to make mistakes.
Oh
Okay.
gosh. And so I'm just gonna say this off topic before you get to your list here. I just noticed someone saying when you want to annoy someone at work, use air quotes when addressing their work title.
Ooh.
I'm gonna
So
make a
you're the
t-shirt.
boss. I'm
I'm gonna
doing air
make that
quotes. So you're the boss.
I'm gonna make that into a t-shirt. Okay, back to your list, Wayne.
Okay. Number 18. Do what is right, not what is easy.
Hmm.
I I love that one.
Yeah, that's a good way to go through life.
Really, really, really. 19. Dreams remain dreams until you take action. I'm thinking of the of one of the old proverbs that I love, and I don't remember which dynasty had this proverb,
Hmm.
but it's thinking about it does not cook the rice. And
Oh,
I love that, and I would tell that to teams that I was on, work teams that I was on, because we're thinking. So everybody was in the ready, aim, aim, aim,
yeah,
aim, aim mode, and they
yeah,
never shot. They never
yeah.
pulled the trigger. I said, now you thinking about it, ladies and gentlemen, does not cook the rice. How do we get there? What do we do? So I love that one.
I do
Here we go.
too.
And this one we've all heard, and a lot of us have ignored it. Treat others the way you want to be
Mm,
treated. I,
yep.
I look at some of these individuals around me today in the news, outside of the news, and you know what? Is this how you would treat your mother?
Yeah.
The way you're treating these people? I don't think so. I
You
hope
know,
I'm wrong.
when I'm driving down the road and I see someone doing something not perfect in terms of driving, I say to myself, that could be my mother. Treat that person as I would my mother.
Ooh, I like that. Okay.
I love my
Here's
mother, by the way.
I know you do. Of course you
I
do.
know, but I needed to clarify that you want to treat. Anyway, go ahead.
Yes. Now here's one that really is you got to stop and think about this one because huh, it is when you quit, you fail. And I'm thinking, wow. All
Hmm.
right. And she says, and she kind of qualifies that with, she says, the surest way to lose at any endeavor is to quit. But fatigue, discomfort, and discouragement are merely symptoms of effort. And I'm thinking, never quit, never
Hmm.
surrender, never,
Right.
those kinds of things. I'm thinking, yeah, okay, I like that. Um, 22, trust your instincts. And I
Hmm.
would always tell my students, there's a time at work when your boss comes to tell you something and they say, I want you to do this. And your stomach, that pit in your stomach, your gut
Hmm.
feel, it feels not correct. You feel, oh, something's not right with this.
Hmm.
And I would tell them, always go with that feel
Hmm.
because that's how people get into well, we've always done it that way. Because the
Ah.
first time you suppress that feeling and do what the boss says to do, um, it gets easier for the boss to say, do that again, and you'll do it again. Much easier. But the first time you hear that, you need to think about that. Go, ooh, wait, is this the right thing to do? I don't know. Last one, then I'll come back to you, and then I'll finish mine. Learn something new every day. We've all heard that. And how
Yeah.
many of us follow that? I don't know. I try to learn something new every day. How about you? Do you learn something new every day or try to?
I try to. Yep.
Okay. And every Thursday, I know I learn lots because because I get
It's
to
a
talk to
great
you.
motivator.
And I studying, so I do learn bits and pieces here and there. Um, we learned about micro affirmations here,
It's on
and I
my
learned
list of
about
new things. Yeah.
and your list of counselors, physical therapy,
Advice
85K,
advisors.
advisors, a probation officer, 50K,
Right.
RN, 70K. Yeah, I'm liking those.
Ah,
Okay.
yeah,
We're,
lawyer 93.
we're at 24 minutes,
Okay.
25 minutes. I've got
Oh,
two more to do.
you go ahead with your two and then I'll wrap us up.
Okay. Number 24, make what is valuable important. Make what is valuable important. How 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 can we not do that?
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you what she says to that. She says instead of thinking about what is profitable, think about what is valuable.
Mm.
Invest in others and you will grow your
Mm-hmm.
portfolio. I always talk about we need to invest in our people who work with us and for us.
Mm-hmm.
You got to invest in them, invest in their knowledge, get their training, get their self-esteem, get their self-efficacy up to the levels that they can see themselves doing different things. It's just so enriching, so wonderful. The last one, and this goes back to our first podcast.
Okay.
And this is podcast number 136, I think it is. 136 anyway.
Wow.
Our first one was believe. She says, believe in yourself.
Ah. Okay.
Wow.
I
Yes.
like that.
Yes. I like that.
Good.
Okay. That's the end of my list.
Okay. Well, I want to just kind of wrap up about to advise with a couple of admonitions or pieces of advice. It's often about listening as much as it is about speaking. You want to be able to deliver it with care. Sometimes the best way to advise someone is to just listen and be there, offering support without judgment. And giving advice or offering advice carries a responsibility to be thoughtful and help others make informed choices as opposed to just giving our opinions about what's
Yes.
going on. So thank you, Wayne. I'm going to think about some of those pieces of advice you have and to use a micro affirmation here. When someone quits because they're tired or feeling overwhelmed, maybe the best question is not to say that's just quitting, but to say, what will you do differently next time? Thank you,
I
folks,
like
for
that.
listening. Thank you, Wayne, for doing this with me.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Sheila, for doing this. This is so fun. Have a good week.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.